For today. So a little bit of background about myself first. Who am I? I am born to two doctorate parents, and if anyone has been born under a doctorate parent, my apologies. They have the worst sense of humor, but thanks to them, I have been granted a good education. I did graduate from Berkeley with dual degrees in genetics and economics. I can skip over my job. I do business. And more importantly, I am the director of operations for Lumynt. And the reasons for Lumynt is the love of interplay of science and faith, and it's been a passion project for the past 5 years. All right, so a little quick overview about what we're going to be doing today. So first, what is Lumynt? Who is Lumynt? Why is Lumynt? How is Lumynt? And what the future holds for us. What is Lumynt? Well, our tagline is simply, ignite young minds, illuminate the future. So what we do is we are a collective of Ph.Ds and M.Ds, researchers and professors from all over the world, and we gather together to go to lower-income areas to do hands-on science projects together with kids. So this has been our pilot project. You see me 5 years younger, although I think I still look the same. This was in the Navajo Reservation in Arizona, and so it was initially an idea created by my parents when they wanted to give of their giftings from the Lord, but had no adequate avenue to do so. My mother has a Ph.D. in chemistry, my father has a Ph.D. in mechanical engineering, but when they tried to go on missions, all they could find was VBS, construction, and medical, which are great, not to knock on any of those, but it's not really using your God-given giftings to serve the kingdom in the ways that He's gifted you. And so they wanted to use their scientific knowledge and upbringing to be able to give to the masses. And so me being the business one said, let's make an organization, call it Lumynt, and we'll go out and do that. And so we partnered with our home church to go to a missions trip to Arizona. Instead of doing arts and crafts for VBS, we decided to do hands-on science experiments to see as a pilot, will this work? Do people like this? And it turns out they did, and we've been going ever since for 5 years. So Lumen is a Christian science education initiative. What does that mean? Well, I just want to note there's a big space between Christian and science. Christian scientists are neither Christian nor scientists, so we want to make sure that's clear. We were established in 2013. We are a network of scientists of faith, and we do missional support via science education. What does that mean? Well, we partner with missionaries abroad and in our native countries, so Korea and America. And basically what we do is we do science experiments for the kids that they lead as a way to basically bolster their rank in the community. So we help bring resources to them that are provided through them so that they're set up as pillars. This is especially helpful in countries that are a little more hostile to Christianity, as we can say, hey, we're bringing along these first world educated American, Korean scientists that want to teach your kids science. Do you want us to come? So we've had 10 projects so far in 6 cities. So Navajo Reservation, Arizona, Kwesan, South Korea, Gaithersburg, Maryland, Oakland, California, San Jose, California, and most recently, Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. So who is Lumynt? So this is our roster of PhDs minus one. Just to brag a little bit, we have 10 PhDs and 3 MDs between us, and we do have another cadre of more PhDs wanting to join us in the swings because there's nothing for these doctors and researchers and scientists to use their giftings for the kingdom. I'm not going to go through that. But more importantly, Lumen has always been and started out as a family ministry. And so as these doctors generously give of their time, they also bring along their kids so that they can see the service they do and be raised in an environment of giftedness and service where they can use their gifts. So why Lumynt? So what is the philosophy of the organization? Well, that's one of the reasons. We get to see some nice smiles as they enjoy science. But there's a fivefold motivation that we have. For Christ, for youth, for scientists, for missions, for government. As believers, I believe that everything we do is called to be for the kingdom and for the glory of our Christ. So that's obvious. But it's also for the youth, right? So we are going to and targeting lower income areas that are underprivileged historically. So the countryside of Ulaanbaatar, or Korea, or Oakland, California, or even in San Jose, there are poor areas that we've been going to help foster a sense of love for the STEM fields. Mainly because from data, it's pretty clear that in order for socioeconomic mobility, one of the best ways to move up the ladder is through a STEM education and a job in the STEM fields. For the scientists, like I mentioned before, this is an avenue that hasn't really been explored, where scientists are allowed to use their God-given giftings for the kingdom work. And so this is as much for the scientists as it is for everyone else. Lastly, for missions. So we want to support our missionary brothers and sisters. We are not the primary missionaries. That is not our goal. We are not the first boots on the ground. We're not the front lines. We are support. So while we aim to be a mission organization, what we aim to do is to partner with missionaries who are already there, living there, and immersed in the lifestyle and the culture and the people, and come alongside them and cheerlead them and boost them so that their work is easier and that people are more and more open to listening to what they say. And lastly, for the government. What do I mean by the government? Well, it's not necessarily to benefit the government, but although each individual country does benefit, for example, in Ulaanbaatar, as we come and teach their kids science and as their young generation grows up to be more and more within the STEM fields, obviously their nation will develop. But on the flip side, because we are offering something like this, we can get access, rather, to these countries. Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, does not allow proselytization by Christians. If you evangelize in Mongolia, you will get kicked out immediately and your visa canceled if you're a Christian. You're allowed to do so if you're a Buddhist or a Muslim, but you're not allowed to do so if you're Christian. So how are we able to go? Well, because we are Ph.D.s who have high levels of education and attainment. These are researchers and professors at various universities who can come to these places, and so we can kind of burst our way through in places where normally we cannot go through. Dr. Paul Shen had a brilliant talk yesterday where he talked about money laundering for Christ. What he meant by that is using your gifts on this earth to store up treasures in heaven. And so in a way, this is kind of what we're doing. PhDs, at the end of the day, are kind of meaningless. We're not going to go to heaven and impress the Father with our knowledge of physics or chemistry. So at the end of the day, all we're searching for are little hints, little puzzles that our Father has given us on this earth. So what do we do with these giftings? Well, we want to use them for the kingdom. So how do we make this work? Well, we gather stellar teachers and we make stellar curricula. We are an interplay between missionaries, volunteers, and scientists. So the PhDs and the doctors and the professors and the researchers are the main ones kind of coming up with this curriculum. But we also partner with missionaries to support their ministry, and then we bring along volunteers to help with the other logistics and to help with the experiments. Again, I don't have the time to go through all of this, but we have about 12 lessons in our repertoire and growing. We're trying to get to about 20. So the future of Lumynt, where do we go from here? It's been 5 years. Well, we are not actually a nonprofit yet. So our next step is to establish officially a 501c3. We've been all paying out of pocket so far. It's been a labor of love. The plane tickets have been quite expensive, but we wanted to provide a proof of concept that it does work and it can work. So we want to grow our network from the DC area in South Korea and the Bay Area. Currently, most of our scientists and researchers are based in the DC area and in South Korea. And we are now trying to recruit researchers, professors, and doctors from this area so that we can establish home bases in Korea, which is kind of where this whole idea was incubated, where we partner with a publicly traded company, and in the Bay Area. And so from there, from those networks of support, we can extend our reach into more hostile places like Mongolia. But then not only that, once we kind of establish a proof of concept there that it can work for more hostile places, push further east into Muslim heartlands like Kyrgyzstan or maybe even China, which is not a Muslim heartland, but it's still close to Christians. So basic 3 takeaways. Number 1, have heart. As the climate in America grows ever colder, as we are painted as the unintellectual brutes, as we are painted as, Bill Nye versus Ken Ham, which, by the way, I think I'm more qualified to talk about evolution He has an undergraduate degree in engineering. I have one in genetics, so side note. Just saying. But these are actual researchers, professors, top of their field, who have the knowledge, who still stand by Christianity and say, no, 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 we believe this is rational and reasonable. I'm sure you know a lot about the apologetics. This is not an apologetics talk. If you want to ask more, we can talk about Q&A or after the talk. But these are people who live it out. These are not just people who do apologetics. These are scientists who believe in the apologetics. So have heart. We started science. We believe that God is rational, therefore the world was understandable. So there are scientists working to reclaim this. Number 2, come chat. Like I said before, I'm here to try to establish a network and a base for people. And so I need to be talking to a lot of people. But if, even if you're not a researcher or whatever, I'd still love to talk volunteers or, just talk about science and faith and the interplay thereof. And join us. If you do know anyone who would like to volunteer, or if you do know any doctors, researchers, professors, please, please, please do let me know. We are looking to build our network out here and a base out here. And also, if you know anyone who can help with nonprofit kind of organizational stuff, doctors are not known for being organizationally the best, not to knock on them. And so when we had our meeting in Mongolia, and we're like, yeah, we should start a nonprofit, raise some funds. And I started talking about all these legal structures, and they're like, we have no idea what you're saying. Go figure it out. So here I am, a 24-year-old amongst very, very intellectual people who are like, yeah, you go figure it out. So I need some help figuring that out. So if you know anyone in that field, I would very appreciate a introduction. All right, so let's open it for Q&A. If you'd like to contact us, Lumynt, we have a Facebook, and if you'd like to email admin@Lumen, or just come chat, I'll give you a card.
We Mass Media, media empowering community.